Hey guys, welcome to the Touchdown Table. I'm Ryan, that's Tyler, that's Jordan. And for people who have been watching our channel for a couple years now since we started back in the summer of 2019, this type of video is definitely one that is familiar to you because for the first time we are doing a deep dive for the 2021 NFL season. The first team that we're going to talk about in this series for 2021 is the Washington football team, a team coming off a season with a losing record, but also a season that with that came a playoff appearance where they played the defending Super Bowl or the would-be Super Bowl champions very tough in the wild card game, and we saw the legend of Taylor Heineke happen. So Washington football team 7-9 division champs last year. We're going to talk about their roster and what we expect for them in 2021.
Yeah, so I think we did make a off-season outlook on the football team, didn't we?
I could check that.
I feel like we might
you
have.
would probably remember.
Yeah, I'm about to go check as well.
We did.
See if I.
All right.
I don't know if I have my segment for Tyler Ships that we did then, but I'm not sure if we did. But we're going to start usually in that we break down what they could do in free agency or the draft, and we're going to talk about those two things first, and then talk about how it can have effect on the season. So I'm going to start with free agency, and then Jordan, you have the draft pulled up on your computer, I believe. So I'm just going to name off the free agents they signed this year. They did a pretty good job getting a lot of guys. They got Curtis Samuel, William Jackson, Ryan Fitzpatrick was one of the bigger ones as well, Adam Humphries, Tyler Larson, David Mayo, Danny Johnson, Lamar Miller, David Sharp, Jared Norris, Darrell Roberts, DeAndre Carter, and that's all that's on this, but there might be more. So they did a good job filling the needs that they had. They've been doing that even last year. And with those guys, I mean, you talk about Fitzpatrick, if he needs to step in, or Curtis Samuel now having a big impact, or William Jackson. Mm-hmm. Those are big name players that are starting to become on the rise and get their name more out there. And with Washington, they have a chance to really prove themselves.
Yeah, they do. And I think when you look at the division that they're in, I don't think that division's going to send a team with a losing record to the playoffs again. I think the division is getting better. I mean, you look at the Giants, they're getting some more offensive weapons, also had a nice free agency defensively. You look at the Cowboys, obviously getting a healthy Dak Prescott back. The Eagles are kind of a mess, but other than that, the NFC East really is on the rise. So I think it was important that Washington had the good offseason that they did, kind of keeping pace with the Giants and the Cowboys, who are going to be better, in my opinion, than they were last year. Because the message has to be that, hey, it was nice to make the playoffs, but 7-9 cannot be the norm here, and we have to do better if we want to win this division again and actually make playoff runs.
Earn it.
Yeah, earn it.
Earn it.
Every time you get a chance to go on the field in the playoffs, you gotta enjoy it.
Right.
You gotta enjoy it because you may never get a second one, and you have to earn it. So we'll see if Washington gets back on the field in the playoffs in it'd be 2022 by then probably, but you get the idea.
Yeah. Breaking it down a bit more, the wide receivers they signed, Adam Humphries, and then I mentioned at the beginning Curtis Samuel. They already have a good wide receiver core, and they added onto that with the draft as well.
Well, they didn't have that good of a wide receiver core.
Well, but they had a growing wide receiver core.
It's a lot more deeper now.
I mean, they definitely had their number one receiver in Terry McLaurin, and they were getting there with those other guys. But now they've really developed something with Humphries and Curtis Samuel,
I like those
and
signings.
then we'll talk about the draft like we said later on. So I think it could be one of the more it's stacked all around. They have something everywhere. I can't think of the word for it, but they have a lot of good wide receivers there is basically what I'm trying to say.
Spread wide receiver and core.
Yes. Balanced or something.
Yeah,
I don't know. That's not
you.
the point. They have a good wide receiver core now. And that's where they're going to have to start right now. They have quarterback questions, which we'll get into. I mean, they signed Ryan Fitzpatrick. We know they re-signed Taylor Heineke. Alex Smith is gone.
I have no questions.
So, what do you have no questions, Jordan?
About the quarterback, but we'll get to that in a little bit, I guess.
Yeah. So their offense right now doing well. They got their running back last year, signed another one in the draft. Actually, after the draft, who Ryan really likes.
Yes.
I'm sure he will talk about that. So overall, we could do grades for the free agency if we want to. Maybe we could do that, like how they do in free agency, if you guys want to do that, just really quickly. What do you guys think based on their needs, the guys I read off, what would you think, Jordan, you start? What would you give them for a grade?
Solid.
Oh, we're not doing letters? We're doing...
Just think of words, I guess. Now let Jordan just do that.
Okay. I'm gonna... I thought we were doing letters.
Well, I did too, but Jordan said solid, so...
Okay,
we're going to do adjectives now.
Necessary.
Jordan's thought of two already.
Okay, so it was solid and necessary. I'm going to say it's pretty good because I can't give it great because I still think that this offensive line is a potential weakness, but I think what they did, getting a veteran guy like Ryan Fitzpatrick, I think he's still is capable of starting in the NFL. I thought they would likely take a quarterback at some point in the 2021 draft. They did not do that, but we'll talk about that later. I think with getting Fitzpatrick, I think with the receivers they signed, I think getting a guy like William Jackson to boost that secondary, pretty good, and also some of the other, kind of lower key names Tyler mentioned early in the video. I think they did a good job, so I'd say pretty good free agency, but still that offensive line might be an issue, especially when they're playing some tough defensive fronts. Because remember, they'll have a first place schedule this year.
I got another one. Gap dash filler. To keep it one word.
Okay.
Gap filler.
I mean, we could go 2 words into it. I mean, mine was 2 words. It was not enough, but I still think it was good. But I think just free agency alone was not enough. And when we get to the draft, that fills in a lot of the slots. But you look at the free agency, and there was still some positions that they needed to address. And now through the draft, I think they have done that. So let's move over to the draft. Jordan, you have that pulled up on your screen over there, so you can just read us the picks from the Washington football team in the 2021 NFL draft.
Round 1, number 19 overall. Still don't know how to say his first name. Jamin Davis.
Jamin, yeah.
Linebacker, inside linebacker, out of Kentucky. Then we got 51 overall, Samuel Cosmi, offensive tackle out of Texas. 74 overall, 3rd round, Benjamin St. Just, cornerback out of Minnesota. 82 overall, Ryan, I know likes this one, I think Tyler too.
Yeah,
Tammy Brown,
especially in the
wide
3rd
receiver
round.
out of North Carolina. 4th round was John Bates, tight end out of Boise State. Derek Forrest, safety out of Cincinnati in round 5. Round 6, Cameron Cheeseman, like that last name, long snapper out of Michigan. 240 overall, round 7, William Bradley King, linebacker / defensive end out of Baylor. Congratulations on winning the national championship for basketball in college, NCAA.
Okay.
Also round 7, Shaka Toney, linebacker defensive end out of Penn State, and 258, Dax Milne, wide receiver out of Brigham Young Young University.
Just stick with BYU.
Brigham.
He was like Zach Wilson's main man last year, although there weren't many great receivers at BYU last year, but he was the premier one. But let's go back up to the top, talking about Jamin Davis. The 1st round pick, so we'll spend the most time on that one. With Jamin Davis, a lot of people were criticizing as it happened, but to me it makes sense. I was really high on Jamin Davis myself, just because he's all over the field all the time, getting to the ball, no matter where, finding ways to move around people. And I love watching Jamin Davis, one of the most fun film watching sessions that I had, I think. They're building this defense now. They got another young linebacker to put into the core of that defense. A lot around him now. A good defensive line, which was a huge part of it last year.
On the depth chart.
Yeah.
Yes, so Jamin Davis was a great addition. I'm excited to see how it works out.
Yeah, I mean, I think, you can make the argument like, oh, they should have gone offensive line, or, I mean, I know there were still some good edge rushers available, but they already have, like, one of the, if not the
I'm sure
defensive
Jamin
lines.
Davis was their guy.
Yeah, I think so. I mean,
and I could see why.
I mean, that the only linebackers that were gone were Parsons and Zaven Collins, I believe. So certainly, I think it's a good pick. Maybe not the biggest need, but still, I like it. I think he's a guy that's ready to step in, make an immediate impact, add to that stacked defense. I think they'll use him in some creative ways. A guy that will be ready on day one, in my opinion, for the football team. I think, like Tyler said, he was one of the guys on their radar heading into draft night. So, yeah, I think it's a good pick, and it was a guy who, I mean, I really didn't know about him until about a month before the draft. Then he kind of rose up in the first rounds, then, watched him, and, you see a first-round talent. So, good pick.
Well, also with Davis and with the linebacker position specifically for Washington, you think when they pick a linebacker, a defensive player in the first round, you think, well, their defense is kind of already stacked. Why are you picking the linebacker? You might want to help the offense. Well, actually, their linebackers were not too great last year. Inside linebacker, they have him listed as the will linebacker on here, is where I'll be playing. The person in front of him, or at least that would be in front of him, would be Josh Harvey Clemens, someone I've never heard of. Also with the other linebackers, John Bostic and Cole Holcomb. So not the biggest names with linebackers. So a really good defense, but especially that defensive front is the powerhouse of that team. And now they're building it back to the linebackers, and their secondary is aight too. I mean, it's aight.
Yeah, that's a good point to bring up, Jordan. And then they did address the offensive line in the 2nd round. Pick 51 was Samuel Cosmi out of Texas. He was a guy that could end up being one of those first-round guys that you look back on and being like, wow, he could definitely been there because there were moments that he shined at Texas. Then Benjamin St. Just out
Is
of
it just or
Minnesota.
Juicy?
I have
don't
no
even know.
clue. I didn't
Juicy.
go fully into depth watching him because that was later on in my film watching. So I just focused really on Rashad Bateman when I watched Minnesota.
Kind of a skill
But
watch.
he's a guy that I knew from last year as well. So round 3, pick 74 for him. Not bad. De'Ami Brown, I'm let Ryan talk about.
Yeah, so when the Texans were on the clock, I was hoping that they would take De'Ami Brown. I mean, I wasn't like crazy high on him. I thought he was like a early mid second round player. I'm not like Chris Sims high on him or anything, but definitely thought he would have been a great pick for the Texans. As far as what the Texans did, I see the sides supporting that decision and some things that kind of make it not make sense. But that's something for a different video. I was hoping the Texans would take De'Ami Brown. I thought getting him in the third round would have been a nice value pick, and he fell past us. I really actually thought that we would take De'Ami Brown, but certainly a guy who's a deep threat. Definitely has playmaking ability. There's occasional drop issues, but those things are those are things that young receivers can grow out of, or at the very least improve on. Does a good job getting open, very hard to cover. So would have loved to see him in a Texans uniform, but Washington I think got a another one of those guys. And I always say, guys with receivers especially, you see guys taken in the second and third round, like guys like Chase Claypool, DK Metcalf, that, are kind of slip and kind of go under the radar in deep receiver classes. But at the end of the day, they really step up and contribute for their teams in ways that people maybe didn't expect them to. I think De'Ami Brown could be one of those guys. Obviously, on the depth chart here, he's got Samuel and Humphreys ahead of him at the time, so we'll see how long it takes. But that, I think, honestly, was my favorite pick, considering the value of it and where it was in the draft later in the third round. That's my favorite pick for them in this draft.
All right, and then I'll just read the rest one more time just so we can mention their names again. John Bates out of Boise State, Derek Forrest out of Cincinnati, Cameron Cheeseman out of Michigan, William Bradley King out of Baylor, Shaka Toney out of Penn State, and Dax Milne out of BYU, as we talked about early on. I don't think any of those are really bad picks. There's some that I didn't get to watch as much as others. But I actually do know all these names at least, and I think it's somewhat around where they would go, but they're not ginormous names per se. They could turn into it, but right now that's not the case. Yep. So that's their draft, and I think that they hit their needs. I mean, we talked about they needed a wide receiver, a lineman, and a linebacker. They got in the first round. They did that, and then they got Dax Milne later on in the 7th round as well, adding another wide receiver. So I'd say overall, what would you guys give as a draft grade? Let's do words again. Jordan, let's go over to you.
B.
That's
like
a word.
B-E-E?
Bury the B?
B.
Yeah,
B-E-E.
Okay, if we're doing words again, I'll say, one word. I'm gonna say impressive because I really like what they did with their top 3 picks. I think
most impressive.
most impressive. I think getting De'Ami Brown in the 3rd round was good. I think Cosme was a good pick in the 2nd, and Jamin Davis, guy that really could step in for them. So I think it's impressive.
I'm going to say tidy for mine. I think they put things in the right order. We're making sure that it was neatly wound with their draft, got the positions they needed. So I'm going to say tidy is a grade for the Washington football team. And now we talk about the free agency and draft process that we're now unfortunately done with. So we're kind of in the point of the offseason where we just have to find stuff to talk about. Right now we're talking about Washington football team next year. So we talked about their roster already. Quarterbacks, Ryan Fitzpatrick are probably going to be the guy unless they want to give a chance to the man who stepped in for one game and didn't do much in Heineke, which I was getting there.
Yeah, I don't know if you were.
I was, because I pulled up the
depth
chart's literally in front of me.
Okay, well, you didn't know it.
And he did something, and what's his name again?
I said his name early on in the video. So
okay, don't get all defensive here. It's okay.
And so,
I do it all the time.
Quarterback's in question still. And then the wide receivers
Especially
we talked about a lot of times. Taylor McLaurin, Curtis Samuel, Adam Humphreys, De'Ami Brown, Cam Sims, DeAndre Carter, Isaiah Wright, still guys are in there. Dax Milne, they also drafted. Logan Thomas was better last year, right?
Lamar Miller.
Yeah. Logan Thomas, the former quarterback. I think I remember him starting for the Cardinals that one year where the Panthers were like 7-8-1, and they made the playoffs, winning the division. Logan Thomas had to start for the Cardinals because I think Carson Palmer was hurt, Drew Stanton was hurt, and then Ryan Lindley was either hurt or got benched. So that's a weird Ryan memory for you.
You said the Panthers?
No, he was with the Cardinals against the Panthers the year the Panthers had a losing record and made the playoffs.
Okay.
And the Panthers actually won the game.
Okay.
So they were 7-8-1. And I think they started that regular season 3-8-1. The Panthers did that year. I think it was 24. I don't know.
It's not a Panthers deep dive.
Yeah, I know. But hey, Ron
Speaking
Rivera
of
was on the
Panthers.
Panthers.
Their line,
Sir Per, baby. He's my man.
Yeah.
their line, as we mentioned,
There's
still
also
their,
the
He's
Florida
not
Panthers.
Staley the
weakness
Bear
right
but
now.
it's close.
They drafted Cosme, who I'm sure will be thrown in there eventually. But right now it says that this depth chart that it's Jaron Christensen
Colts
Sr., Wes
mascot.
Sweetser, Chase
The Colts
Roller,
mascot.
Brandon Scherf
Blue.
is a good one,
That's
and
his
Morgan.
name,
What
yeah.
was this for their line? Defense is their strong suit, as we mentioned. Just going to name their starters:
Like the
Chase
Blue
Young,
Philly,
Jonathan
yeah.
Allen, Deron Payne, Montez Sweat, Jamin Davis, who they drafted, John Bostic, Cole Holcomb, Kendall Fuller, Landon Collins, Cameron Curl, who had a good season last
Yeah.
year as a rookie, and William Jackson, who they signed in free agency. Special teams: Dustin Hopkins and Tress Way. So with that roster being read off, just want to make sure you guys heard all the names, and there's some guys that'll get playing time
Dustin
that I didn't
Hopkins is the
mention.
real D Hop.
Yes, that's for sure. Let's do some record predictions here. We got the extra game. We'll end on this just based on what we talked about in this video and all that type of stuff. Jordan, we're gonna start with you again. What is your rough record prediction? Although we're getting closer to a
Pause,
definitive one
dude.
now that we have
Pause.
gotten through the free agency and the draft. But what is your rough
I
record
said
prediction?
pause, okay? Because I want to talk about something real quick.
All right, we're gonna pause.
Something I didn't get to touch on, and that's Ryan Fitzpatrick. I just want to say I won't go too long on this, but I really like that they did not draft a quarterback. In my mock draft, I had him coming up to draft him because I thought Ryan Fitzpatrick was going to be that transitional backup again, like he was with Miami, which I did not like the role he played. I thought he should have started the whole season. I thought they played much better with him, and I think he's still got a lot of game left to play, even in his older age right now. So I'm really excited to see him get a starting job, hopefully here with Washington. I think he can stand it for all 17 games now. Yikes.
So you
said.
don't think they should have drafted a line or a quarterback?
I don't think so. In fact, I was reading something earlier. It says that they did like Justin Fields, but they were not willing to trade out for him. They wanted to go like that Andy Reid in approach with Mahomes, where they kind of built their team up first, and then they drafted the guy and waited a year. They didn't want to get their quarterback with their team not fully set, so they were focusing on this draft to try to build up their
Isn't Ryan
team.
Fitzpatrick
If
a
Fields
one-year
slept
deal?
to him
Yeah.
or fell to him, then they might have got him. But besides that, they wanted to build their team first and then get their franchise quarterback.
Yeah, I don't think it's terrible that they didn't draft a quarterback. I just
No, I don't.
expected them to, but I think that
I like that
Fitzpatrick. Yeah, I
Fitzpatrick's
think
the guy.
Fitzpatrick's ready to start.
I think he's got a
it's
lot
good.
of game
Well,
left.
we saw him start last year. It was good for the Dolphins.
Yeah,
No.
for sure. I think
And in
he-
free
yeah.
agency, the Bears were looking for a quarterback at one point. We got two now. Lost Mitchell Trubisky, my man, with the Bills now. But
I still don't like. Everyone hated him until he became a free agent in Bears. It just does not make sense to me.
I like that.
Well, yeah, you.
Different
but,
topic.
like,
We
yeah.
both did, by the way.
Anyways, yeah.
Different topic now. Going back to the Washington football team. Jordan, back to you. Rough record prediction.
Ryan Fitzpatrick, let's play good this year. I like you. Show some more magic. But hey, your name is also Fitzpatrick. People should recognize that more. A record for you is going to be. I like him, but I'm trying to think of numbers here because it's weird. 10
Adds up to
and
7.
7.
10 and
Alright.
7.
I'm gonna say 11-6. I think this is a playoff team, and I think they'll get into the playoffs with a formidable record.
I'm with Jordan. I'm going to say roughly 10 and 7 right now, without looking at their schedule or anything, just based
Comes
on
out
the
on
talent
Wednesday.
that they have. So I just think that they're still young. There's going to be time until
else
they're
comes
one of
out
the
on
better
Wednesday?
teams in the NFC. But right now, I
What?
think they're a
Our
playoff
podcast.
team.
Oh yeah.
Chance to win the division. I'm excited to see what the Washington football team is able to put together this year. It's going to be fun. We had a good time talking about them for the first deep dive video of this year. I've been saying deep dive instead of off-season outlook. Anticipating this moment, and we're here. Thank you guys for watching this video. Make sure to like the video if you want to see more deep dives. Also go down and comment which one you'd want to see next.
Washington, we love you guys.
Yes, we do. And also comment what you thought about the Washington football team roster, because this is the best conversations we have on the deep dive videos here right now.
We feel you.
Like I said, subscribe, comment, go hit the notification bell, go check out our Instagram and our podcast. It's called The Touchdown Table. All the plugging I have to do for today. Thank you again for watching this first deep dive video of 2021 offseason. And with that, we'll see you guys later.
See ya.